that a gang sign? Have you,
Oh, like you don't know what it is. You don't know what that is.
I have no idea.
You don't know. Jimmy Fallon doesn't know. David Letterman doesn't know.
We don't know.
All the comics and show business don't know what this is. Right? Yeah.
When you think of Jim Carrey, you think of larger-than-life comedy, of over-the-top impressions, of a guy who can steal an entire show with just a facial expression. But what happened on Jimmy Kimmel Live was something completely different. It was raw, it was sharp, and it was absolutely hilarious in the most brutal way possible. The segment started off like any other late-night bit. Kimmel tossing in his usual mix of jokes with that smug undertone he's become known for, but Jim Carrey wasn't having it. And instead of playing along politely, he flipped the script.
Tongue. And I'm sick of it. I want everybody to be in on the joke, man. You know what I mean? Like, for years now, talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track, to distract you, to make you laugh and stuff like that, make you happy and docile so you don't know what's really going on.
Right there on live TV, Carrey began roasting Kimmel, turning every jab back on him, exposing the shallowness of his comedy, mocking the predictable punchlines, and doing it all with the kind of effortless charisma only Jim Carrey can pull off. The audience? They erupted because this wasn't just comedy, this was Carrey reminding everyone what real quickwit looks like, what it feels like when someone unscripted and unfiltered takes over a stage that wasn't meant for them. And the best part? Kimmel had no idea how to handle it. He laughed nervously. He tried to regain control, but every time he opened his mouth, Carrey hit him harder, faster, and with jokes that cut deeper than any scripted monologue ever could. It was a takedown wrapped in humor, a masterclass in comedic dominance. And by the time Carrey was done, Kimmel wasn't the host anymore. He was the punchline. This wasn't just a funny TV moment. It was a reminder that legends like Jim Carrey don't need a script, they don't need a setup, they just need a stage. And when they decide to unleash, there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. What made this moment so unforgettable wasn't just Jim Carrey's jokes. It was the way he completely flipped the late-night dynamic on its head, because let's be real, people tune in to shows like Jimmy Kimmel Live expecting the host to be in control, to guide the conversation, to keep the energy flowing. But on this night, the script was torn up, thrown out the window, and set on fire, because Carrey made it clear he was the one in charge. The audience could feel it immediately. Every time Carrey fired off a punchline, the laughter wasn't polite. It wasn't the usual chuckles you hear from a crowd trained to clap when the sign lights up. It was real, unfiltered, uncontrollable laughter. People were leaning forward in their seats, waiting for Carrey to hit Kimmel again, almost rooting for him to dismantle the host. And the more it happened, the bigger the reaction became. And here's where things get really interesting. The cameras caught Kimmel's face throughout the exchange, and it told the whole story. That nervous grin, the shifting in his chair, the forced attempts to take back the conversation, but nothing worked. Every time he tried to throw out a question or cut Carrey off, the comedian doubled down, making him the butt of the joke again and again. It wasn't mean-spirited, and that's why it worked so well. Carrey wasn't angry. He wasn't out for blood. He was just being brutally funny in a way that reminded people why he's a legend.
Poison control centers have seen this spike in calls from people taking this livestock medicine to fight the coronavirus, but they won't take the vaccine, which is crazy. It's like if you're a vegan and you're just like, no, I don't want a hamburger. Give me that can of Alpo instead.
He exposed the cracks in late-night television, showing that so much of it is scripted, predictable, and carefully managed. And then he ripped it apart with pure, unfiltered comedy that couldn't be contained. The clips hit the internet within hours, and that's where the moment took on a life of its own. Social media exploded with reactions. People praising Carrey for saving late-night comedy in 5 minutes. Fans saying this was the funniest thing they'd seen in years, and others pointing out how uncomfortable Kimmel looked as his entire show got hijacked by a true master of the craft. Memes popped up, Twitter feeds lit up, YouTube uploads racked up millions of views, and suddenly Carrey was trending worldwide. What's even more telling is the split reaction in the media. Some outlets tried to play it safe, calling it a funny exchange between Carrey and Kimmel, but others didn't hold back, flat out saying Carrey embarrassed Kimmel on his own stage. That narrative only fueled the fire, because when people went back and watched the clip for themselves, it was obvious Kimmel didn't stand a chance. And let's be honest, late-night TV has been struggling for years, with ratings slipping, hosts losing touch with audiences, and the comedy feeling stale. What Jim Carrey did wasn't just roast one host. He exposed the weakness of the entire format. He showed that the raw, unscripted, unpredictable energy of a true comedian will always crush the safe, prepackaged jokes late night relies on. By the time the dust settled, one thing was clear. Jim Carrey didn't just destroy Kimmel in that moment. He reminded everyone that true comedy doesn't need to be approved by producers or written in a writer's room. It just needs someone fearless enough to say what everyone else is too scared to say. And in this case, Carrey proved he still got it, still sharper than ever, and still able to dominate any room he walks into. So while Kimmel may try to laugh it off, while the media may soften the story, the internet never forgets. The clips, the memes, the headlines, they'll be there forever, a reminder of the night Jim Carrey turned the host into the punchline and reminded the world what real comedy looks like. At the end of the day, this wasn't just a funny late-night moment. It was something bigger. It was a reminder of why Jim Carrey is in a league of his own, why his presence still commands attention, and why audiences are starving for the kind of raw, unfiltered comedy that can't be scripted or controlled. Jimmy Kimmel may have been the host that night, but Carrey was the one who owned the stage. He reminded millions of people watching at home that true comedy doesn't come from teleprompters or safe punchlines. It comes from risk, from energy, from having the guts to turn the spotlight on its head and take the audience somewhere unexpected. And that's exactly what happened. In just a few minutes, Carrey turned Kimmel's show into his own playground, and the world noticed. The clips, the reactions, the headlines, they all told the same story. This was Carrey at his best, and Kimmel simply couldn't keep up. So while late-night TV continues to stumble along, struggling to connect with viewers, Jim Carrey showed everyone that the spark is still out there, that real comedy is alive, and that sometimes all it takes is one legend stepping back into the spotlight to remind us what we've been missing. And that's why this moment will stick, not because it was a small roast or a quick laugh, but because it was proof that even today, one man with nothing but his wit can walk onto a stage, flip it upside down, and leave everyone talking. Jim Carrey didn't just make people laugh that night. He made history.